Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents A Couple's Guide to Sexual Addiction, a step-by-step plan to rebuild trust and restore intimacy, by Pauldrum Catherine Collins and George N. Collins, M.A. Narrated by Wendy Tremont King. Disclaimer: this book is intended as general information only and should not be used to diagnose or treat any health condition. In light of the complex, individual, and specific nature of health problems, this book is not intended to replace professional medical advice. The ideas, procedures, and suggestions in this book are intended to supplement, not replace, the advice of a trained medical professional. Consult your physician before adopting any of the suggestions in this book, as well as about any condition that may require diagnosis or medical attention. The authors and publisher disclaim any liability arising directly or indirectly from the use of this book. This publication is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information with regard to the subject matter covered. It is sold with the understanding that the publisher is not engaged in rendering legal, accounting, or other professional advice. If legal advice or other expert assistance is required, the services of a competent professional person should be sought. From a Declaration of Principles, jointly adopted by a committee of the American Bar Association and a committee of publishers and associations. Introduction. If you have this book in your hands, you are probably moving through a very difficult passage in your relationship. Perhaps you are certain, or maybe you suspect, that your partner has been sexually unfaithful, and you are concerned that an addiction to sex has caused it. Or you may suspect that you have a problem with sexual compulsivity that is causing you to act out sexually in addictive ways that are damaging to your relationship. Your compulsive thoughts or behaviors are creating a barrier to the intimate connection you'd like to have with your partner. Sexual addiction does not always result in infidelity to the relationship, nor is all sexual infidelity driven by sex addiction. However, sex addiction or compulsivity blocks loving intimacy inside a committed partnership. Generally, it is the male of the couple who has an issue with sexual addiction. However, please keep in mind that women can also have these issues, or you may be a same-sex couple. As you read, if the pronouns we are using in any of the descriptions don't fit your situation, please adjust them. This book is for you, too. It is probably clear to you that you are not connecting with your partner as you would like. But how can you tell if your partner is being gripped by sex addiction in some form? You may have a sense that something is wrong, but you don't know what it might be. Some signs that sex or porn addiction may be playing a part are: your partner is spending a lot of private time on the computer. He is less available, less communicative with you than he has been in the past. He is unusually secretive. He does not initiate sex. He frequently can't climax sexually. He wants to have sex all the time. He's never satisfied. You feel a lack of partnership or true intimacy. If you or your partner is addicted to sex, then sexually compulsive behavior has caused a breach in your relationship. But you can do something about it that can create positive changes. This book is here to help you traverse the shock, the pain, the anger, the fear, and the sadness of what you have discovered, and to help you as a couple navigate these troubled waters. You may feel like you are at a crossroads, and that a wrong turn will lead to more pain and suffering. Trust your instincts. You may not know exactly where your relationship is headed right now. You may have a list of reasons why you should stay, but somehow feel you should leave. This book is written for those couples who are choosing to stay together, at least for now, to work through the difficulties of sexual addiction. You may be able to use this stormy crisis to make your relationship closer, deeper, and more intimate. But even if you eventually choose to leave, both partners can still benefit from understanding the dynamics that have gotten you to this point in your lives. At this juncture, even though you may be choosing to stay in the relationship, you probably have many thoughts, feelings, and questions swirling through your head. Questions for you may include, how can I be with this man after what he's done? How do I know he won't do it again? How do I not monitor his every move? How can I ever trust him again? Why didn't I recognize and acknowledge what was going on before now? Questions for him may include, can she ever forgive me? Can I forgive myself? How can I possibly be with this woman? How can I be with her after the rush of what I have been doing? Reading the information presented here and working through the exercises will help you find your way to the answers, not only to these questions, but also to the questions that will arise as you learn more about sexual compulsion and addiction, and how that plays inside your relationship dynamic. Work through the exercises in the book gradually. Rushing doesn't help. It takes time to unravel and rebuild your relationship. Be compassionate and patient with yourself and your partner. And yes, this book will show you how to do that too. The examples, anecdotes, stories, letters, and emails you will find in this book are fictionalized composites of the individuals and couples we have known and worked with. We have made every effort to maintain anonymity. If a story seems to be the account of someone you know, it could be due to the fact that the details of sexual compulsion are so common and pervasive, with very familiar patterns. In Part 1 of the book, Coming to Terms with Your New Reality, we will look at some basic facts about sex addiction and how to live through the initial discovery of the problem of sexual compulsivity in your relationship. In Part 2, Rebuilding Your Relationship, we will explore the skills and tools you will need to put the pieces of your partnership back together and to deepen your relationship. Finally, in Part 3, Moving Forward, we will look at ways to deepen intimacy, both emotionally and sexually, and how to find outside support if you need it. Part 1. Coming to Terms with Your New Reality. Chapter 1. Sex Addiction. Really? Janine and Jay, both divorced, met when they were in their late 30s. For almost 3 years, they had what they felt was a magical relationship. Janine had never had such a fulfilling sexual connection as the one she had with Jay. It was after she'd invited Jay's mother for an extended stay that their sex life seemed to grind to a halt. Jay started staying later and later at work, or so he claimed. The truth was that he was going out for a couple of drinks with his co-workers, then returning to the office to look at porn and masturbate. Though Jay felt ashamed and embarrassed about what he was doing, he didn't understand what was happening or how to stop. He longed to find a way to reconnect with Janine, but didn't know how. They began to fight more and more often over what seemed to be minor matters. Finally, Janine confronted Jay. She told him she didn't know exactly what he was doing at work every night, but she was pretty sure he was having an affair. She told him she was unwilling to live this way and asked him to move out. She was finished. After first denying that anything was going on, Jay finally told her about the porn. He confessed that although he kept promising himself he wouldn't go back to view more porn, each night he did. He admitted that he didn't understand how he had gotten so caught up in the porn. Discovering sexual compulsivity in your relationship. Every day we get phone calls and emails from individuals and couples who are experiencing infidelity in their relationships, whether through affairs, excessive viewing of porn while masturbating, engaging prostitutes, visiting massage parlors that specialize in sexual massage, indulging in sexually intriguing chats online or in emails or through some other form of compulsive sexual expression. When they discover what is happening, they feel betrayed. Many say they feel as if they have run with full force into a brick wall. A period of shock for both partners often follows. Being discovered as a sexual addict can be as difficult as discovering your partner is a sexual addict. Certainly not every betrayal is due to sexual compulsivity or addiction, but a pattern of betrayal may include sex addiction as a factor. While some people become aware of the problem in one horrible instant of discovery, often the understanding can creep up in a series of small awakenings. The betrayed partner may have voiced suspicions that were repeatedly denied, but which over time added up to a certainty. No matter how you learn about your partner's sexual addiction, it is a stunning and painful revelation. You may feel shocked or numb, hurt, ashamed, afraid, and angry. Your partner may also feel shocked or numb, hurt, ashamed, afraid, and sometimes angry. In fact, the real brick wall you have run into may well be a wall of shame about the behavior of your partner, your inability to stop the behavior, or a lack of awareness that it was happening. Shame is a significant aspect of sexual addiction that will be explored in greater detail in Chapter 6. What sexual addiction is? Sex addiction is a compulsive urge to engage in sexual activity, thoughts, or fantasies in a way that is detrimental to the individual, his family, his friends, and/or his work. It blocks the development of true intimacy in a relationship. Sex addiction is also labeled sexual dependency or sexual compulsivity. For the ease of communication here, we will interchangeably use the terms sex addiction, sexual compulsivity, or sexual dependency to refer to this issue. Our natural urge for sex, the way sex is used for marketing purposes, and the explosion of porn on the internet have created a perfect storm of conditions leading to sex addiction. To understand how sexual addiction can arise, it helps to understand what impulses and motivations drive the behavior. The sexual impulse. As a human, you have an animal body guided by instinct. You also have a reasoning part of your brain that allows you to work with your instinctive responses. In its basic and natural form, if there has not been physical or emotional damage along the way, human sexual contact feels good. Touching feels good. Having an orgasm feels good. This is normal and wonderful. The natural desire for sex and sexual pleasure is not an enemy. The natural sexual impulse can guide you to finding closeness, connectedness, and intimacy with your partner. When your natural biochemical responses produce hormonal impulses, you experience sexual desire. When sexual urges get misdirected, or they become addictive or compulsive, instead of leading to pleasure and connection, the sex drive can lead to suffering. Basically, we all want to love and be loved. At the core of our humanity, we yearn to be treated with kindness and compassion, and to return kindness and compassion. And we quite naturally require human connection at a biological level. We have evolved as members of a tribe, as part of a society. We need each other. Biology and sex. Our needs for sex, touch, attachment, bonding, and commitment are chemically influenced in different ways at different stages of our lives. The hormone testosterone, sometimes called the warrior hormone, is found in both men and women. Men, however, tend to have 20 to 40 times more testosterone than women. Testosterone creates an urge for sexual contact, but may also foster the desire to dominate and to be alone. Thus, it's no surprise that men are more inclined to one-night stands, or that they like to roll over and go to sleep afterward. In men, testosterone levels peak in the morning and are lower at night. They cycle up and down every 15 to 20 minutes. It is widely known that at puberty, young men are hit with a flood of testosterone. Testosterone also spikes for young women at puberty, but women produce more of the hormone estrogen. Estrogen causes a woman to want to be held and causes her to feel receptive to sexual advances. Touch and the chemicals released with touch also play a vital role in our survival, happiness, and our experience of connectedness. Studies have shown that babies do not thrive and can die when there is a lack of touch. As we grow older, without touch, we become more subject to senility and can die sooner. Touching and being touched by someone alters our chemical composition, strengthening the biochemical bond with that individual. Even a thought of the person can cause a hormonal surge. A chemical reaction occurs that actually causes a craving for more touch from that individual. In this way, touching and being touched are literally addictive. The physical structures in your brain also influence how you respond to the world. The prefrontal cortex, which sits right behind your forehead, is associated with personality, intelligence, ethics, and morality, and with regulating control over emotional and sexual urges. In other words, you can override the primitive call-of-the-wild automatic responses we all have that compel us to get away from pain and danger and to move toward pleasure. Studies have shown that we can engage the thinking function of the prefrontal cortex by something as simple as using our thinking function to label an angry face as angry. By putting just a little bit of awareness around your automatic survival response, you can begin to have a choice about the response. This is one of the vital components of overcoming sexual addiction. By understanding your biological influences, you can start to work with your urges and impulses as they arise. You can begin to see how your biology naturally creates a desire for sexual connectedness, or a desire to masturbate, or a desire to dominate, or a desire to be receptive to sex, or a desire to touch and be touched. You can begin to find ways to work with these energies so they do not overwhelm your relationship. You can find ways to work with your biochemistry so your desires for attachment, connection, bonding, and commitment can be met. Pornography. Because of the way our hormonal impulses can drive our behaviors, sex has also become entangled with power and domination, which is at odds with our need for closeness, touch, and connection. The portrayal of sex as a matter of power and domination is a common theme in much of porn. This can create a distortion and confusion about sexual impulses and what is actually desirable for women. Those who have viewed a lot of pornography can start to imagine that women in real life are like the women portrayed in pornography. This is one way that sexual compulsion can damage relationships. Viewing porn can be instantly gratifying. It's readily available and doesn't require connection or cooperation. Testosterone drives the urge for sexual expression, and men seem to be more oriented to being aroused and attracted visually. In particular, when sexually explicit materials are introduced or discovered during puberty, a cycle of connecting with the sexual excitement and release that comes with the viewing of pornography can be set in motion in a way that impacts the view of and approach to sexuality for many years to come. The natural maturing of the capacities for sexual connection through truly intimate contact can become diverted. In 1953, the face of pornography changed with the first issue of Playboy magazine. Playboy, and its related magazines, brought pornography into more public and widespread view at magazine stands everywhere. These objectified and sexualized images of women were packaged as a lifestyle choice, available to any successful and intellectual gentleman. Playboy and Penthouse magazine vied to produce the most sexually explicit material. In 1974, with the publishing of Hustler magazine, the limits of what was acceptable for mainstream distribution were pushed even further, laying the groundwork for the multi-billion-dollar porn industry of today. With the explosion of Internet porn and computers to view it on, porn is now accessible in ways it never was before. Any kind of pornographic material that can be imagined or desired is available instantly in the privacy of one's home or office. Greater accessibility has also led to more explicit and increasingly violent material aimed at younger audiences. Currently, the average age at which a child first views porn online is 11. And what a child sees is a far cry from that first edition of Playboy. It is no secret that pornography tends to depict sexuality from a view that objectifies. Many of our clients have found it difficult to understand that the view of sex portrayed by porn is a fantasy. It is a type of fairy tale created for men by the porn industry because sex sells. That doesn't mean porn is necessarily bad. Sometimes couples can use it as part of a healthy sex life. For example, sexually explicit materials that depict partners sexually connecting and caring for each other can model the connection that is possible through human sexuality. However, an individual who compulsively uses pornography generally needs to abstain from viewing pornography completely. The label sex addict. Many people resist the sex addict label. They don't want to associate addiction with their behaviors or with their relationship. Sometimes it's easier for people to think they simply have a bad habit. We encourage them and encourage you not to get stuck on words, but to focus on healing. Whether we use the label bad habit, addiction, compulsion, or dependency, or any other words, if your behavior is creating suffering, then you have a problem. For the individual who is caught by sexual compulsion, sex has become something other than an intimate expression of loving connectedness. The pleasure that is inherently present in orgasm or connection with another has been altered and is being used as a balm, an escape, a distraction, rather than being enjoyed for what it does offer. Unfortunately, shying away from the phrase sex addiction can keep you from the very information that can be helpful. If you know what sex addiction means, then if you are suffering from it or your partner is, you can recognize that you're not alone and you can find help and relief for the pain that compulsive behavior causes. Just because someone likes to masturbate or to have sex doesn't mean that he or she is a sex addict or has a problem. A friend of ours asked if we thought he had a problem because he loves to look at his fiancée when she is naked, and he really enjoys having sex with her frequently. We assured him that he is a healthy male. What are the signs of sexual addiction? To determine if you or your partner may have a problem with sexual addiction, ask these questions. 1. Are you or is your partner preoccupied with sexual thoughts, impulses, or desires? 2. Are your or is your partner's sexual behavior or behaviors getting in the way of having the intimate connection you want to have? 3. Are your or is your partner's sexual behavior or behaviors getting in the way of work or causing financial problems? If you answered yes to even one of these questions, it is likely that sexual compulsivity is an issue for you. At the very least, you can assume that sexual compulsion is creating problems for you in your life and with your relationship. You have an issue with sex addiction, dependency, or compulsion if your sexual behaviors interfere with your day-to-day living by causing stress on your family members, friends, other loved ones, and/or work. If your sexual expression has become self-defeating, then you have a problem. If your sexual behaviors are getting in the way of intimacy, then you have a problem. Your natural animal instinct to soothe yourself with this particular type of behavior is overriding your capacity to regulate your impulses in a way that allows for human connection and intimacy. The problem with soothing yourself with sexual behavior is that the soothing is momentary. You may feel ashamed, too, because you're probably aware that your behavior is out of your control. An internal war is going on. Life is not working. As George likes to describe the cycle of sexual compulsivity, you can't get enough of what won't satisfy you. Porn and masturbation, all men do it. If someone says you have sexually addictive behavior, your automatic response may be, all men do it. Are you kidding me? This is just how guys are wired. Or, this doesn't have anything to do with my relationship, it's no big deal. But if you could let go of the defensiveness for a moment, you would probably say something like, please don't make me stop. I really need this. This is the one thing I can count on to never let me down. It's easy to understand that when one of the partners in a committed relationship has an affair, the behavior is harmful to the relationship and is unacceptable. But when you're simply masturbating, you may wonder what's the harm in that. If the sexual impulse is so natural, then why would following it create a problem? Let's dig into this. Start with a natural, run-of-the-mill, instinctive sexual urge. Just an urge on its own, not connected to feeling close and loving toward someone. Just that nice, warm sexual urge that kind of glows in your genital area. At its most simple, that urge is the desire to feel the release and pleasure in an orgasm. So the individual masturbates and has an orgasm. It just feels good, and there isn't a problem. Most of us masturbate. That's not the problem. The problem occurs when masturbation interferes with our relationships. Most of us have sexual thoughts and feelings about people we see and meet that we find sexually attractive. Again, that's not a problem. It only becomes a problem when you're driven to engage in sexual behaviors that interfere with the rest of your life. Someone who does not have an issue with sexual compulsivity might have a hard time understanding it. A man who isn't addicted to pornography can look at porn, even be stimulated by it, but he will not need to go back to it day after day. As one such man reported to us, when I look at porn, after about 15 minutes, it just gets kind of boring. I'd much rather have sex with my wife. Sexually compulsive or normal. If you're sexually addicted, your behavior may include the compulsion to view internet porn and masturbate. But generally, it doesn't end there. For example, the sexually compulsive man goes to lunch and sees a pretty waitress wearing a tight t-shirt and a short skirt. Now, almost any man is going to notice how attractive she is, and might even be sexually aroused. But the sexually compulsive man will take it further. He will try to give her his business card. He will imagine having sex with her. Then he will take the memory of her out of the restaurant with him. He'll remember what she said, how she said it, and he will imagine that she wants to have sex with him. Then he might take it even further.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?